welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. My name is Molly. I'm a mum here in the UK of 2 children. My husband and I have a biological 4-year-old little girl, and last year we brought home our son through UK adoption. Today's video is a bit of a different one. I wanted to talk about how we prepared our little man for the first time to have time away from us. So since little man moved home last year, he has not spent any time really away from us other than being at nursery. He's certainly not been away from us overnight, and he has quite bad separation anxiety, which is completely expected given that he's been in care. He's had several moves in terms of homes, and so something we completely expected and were prepared for. And our aim as his parents is to make him feel as safe as possible when he is in the care of family and friends and we aren't there for him. Recently, me and my husband needed to travel up to Scotland for essential travel purposes, COVID still, and it was the first time that we've left both our kids. We are fine leaving Big Miss, she is more than used to it, but it was the first time that we have left our little man, and so we wanted to put a plan in place to make sure that he felt as safe as possible whilst we were gone and he could feel comfortable and was very well prepared. So I'm going to take you through some of the steps that we did to prepare for this, for him and for me, because my God, I needed the preparation as well. I was dreading leaving him. The first thing that we did was we chose one person that he could connect with, attach to and become familiar with. So in the times of coronavirus, it's even harder to do that. But what we did was my husband's sister joined our childcare bubble. We chose her because she was available, she didn't have many commitments and she was more than happy to help, and she's someone that is around our children a lot. So once we had identified her, we asked her to agree if she'd be happy to have the kids and if she'd be happy to kind of help contribute to this plan to get little man very familiar and comfortable with her, which she absolutely was. The second thing we did was we planned a bit of a mini introduction. So adoption introductions are standard. When you go and meet your little one, you go to foster carer's home and you build up the time you spend with them before they move home with you. So we did our own almost mini introductions. I kind of put together a tiny little plan, a timetabled, a very loose schedule for when my husband's sister could come and start building up time with our little man. So we did this over a couple of weeks and we penciled out maybe 3 or 4 days a week, and it would start with her either picking him up from nursery and just having an hour or two to play with him on their own in an environment that he's familiar with. She would also come a few evenings a week and observe the bath time and bedtime routine, get used to his patterns, I suppose his bedtime tantrums, any triggers that he may have, and just so that he could observe her being around as well, and he could observe the relationship that she has with his mummy and his daddy, and that we know that she is safe, so then he can associate her with being safe as well. So she would come and do bath time and bedtime, and gradually she would get involved. She would then take over to the point where me and my husband would take a step back. We'd maybe be at the door just if he needs a bit of extra comfort, and then the last couple of times she did it completely on her own with us downstairs, and it worked really, really well. Third thing we did was we made sure that she was incredibly clued up on everything she needed to know about little man in terms of his routine, the importance of keeping his routine the same. The fact that me and my husband were leaving him, we thought was going to be enough to unsettle him. The last thing we wanted to do was change his routine, pull him out of that, because anybody who is in the adoption process or who is an adoptive parent will know that our children need very high nurture, high boundary structures. They need routine. It makes them feel safe. It keeps them feeling safe. And so we made sure that she knew exactly what times he needed things, how to do things, his comforts such as his dummies or his teddies, exactly what to put him in for bed, how even our daughter got involved, because that was something that little man was used to seeing her before bed, for example. Anything that may set him off being really upset or dysregulate him slightly, especially if he's tired. So we informed her of all of this. I sent through notes and notes of routines, and she'd been around him a lot enough to know what he kind of liked and didn't like and how to handle this. The next tip is we kind of did almost transition toys again. So when you do adoption introductions, you have a transition toy or transition items that you send to foster carers. One of these for us was a bunny rabbit that me and my husband slept with for a few months, so that it had our smell on, so that little man was familiar with our smell. We did all of this again, but with our pajama tops. So all we did was we used the same pajama tops for about a week, and we kind of like attached these around his cot sheets so that he could smell us. We didn't change perfumes, we didn't change like candles in the home or anything, so the smell was consistent with me and my husband. And we put these in his bedroom safely so that he could smell us and just have that comfort of home and safety. And I do think that that really helped. That's something that really helped in our initial adoption introductions with him, and so we knew that we needed to do this again so that he would feel comfortable. The next tip is if you have a sibling or a pet, for example. So our little man is very used to our big girl and our dog, and it was suggested to help us out that our big girl would go and stay at a grandparent's house, which is really, really kind. But when we thought about this, we thought, for the sake of little man's routine and for his comfort, he knows his sister, he's very used to seeing her in the home, and it's very normal for him to have her around. So if we maybe removed her from his surroundings whilst me and my husband were also away, then that could possibly trigger him and make him feel unsafe. So we decided that my husband's sister would also have our daughter. She would be at home with my little man, just because that's very normal for him. We wanted to keep everything as normal as possible, and as well the dog would be around as well, because again, little man is very used to seeing the dog and chasing her around and seeing her before bed and when he wakes up, and so we wanted everything to be as normal as possible and not for anyone else but me and my husband to disappear for a couple of days. It's definitely something to consider, assessing your environments and what is normal and keeping it as similar as possible. The next thing that we did was we made sure that our little man stayed in an environment that he knew. So our little man knows his home, he knows his home is safe, he knows his home is comfortable, and my husband's sister actually said that when she started doing the mini introductions with us, she couldn't believe the difference between how he is at home compared to how he is at her house, at the grandparents' house. And so it kind of made sense that we kept him at home, we kept Big Miss at home and the dog at home, and that my husband's sister came and stayed at our house. So that little man had his own bed, he had the same high chair where he had his breakfast, he would wake up in the same bedroom, he would know his surroundings, and again, it's just minimising the amount of change to those couple of days. I get that this isn't always possible and it completely depends on your own circumstances. For us it worked well, but sometimes a child may have to go to a grandparent's, and if that was the case, then in the mini introductions we would have definitely done a lot of practice sleepovers where maybe we put him to bed there and we build it up to somebody else, grandparent, auntie, uncle, whoever is doing it, friend, would start doing it at their house, and that's something we would have definitely built in and something to consider. The last thing that we did was we had a bit of a backup plan. The last thing we wanted was for our little man to kick off and be dysregulated, and we knew that this probably wouldn't happen and that it would be very rare, but we didn't want my husband's sister to be overwhelmed with one really dysregulated child, another child and a dog. So we knew that we had a grandparent on standby, we knew that she had support if she needed it, and we also had things like FaceTime in place, just because then he could recognise our voice, he could see that we were still there. That's something that we did with foster carer when he first moved home. We had little FaceTime visits so that he knew she hadn't disappeared off the face of the earth, and he responded quite well to them, even though he didn't really understand what was going on. He recognised her voice, he would smile, and so we wanted to just have that in place. So that in a nutshell is what we did to transition our little man to getting used to the care of someone else while we were away. And it's something that we did, and it will benefit us in the long run, because now he's kind of used to my husband's sister and he will start to feel safe with her, and if we ever need it in the future, we know that we've got that plan in place and it'll work. But if anybody has any other tips that you have done that helped, please let me know, comment them below or message me over on Instagram, because I'm always aware that people do different things for their own children, and I'm always willing to learn and build things into a plan for the future. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more adoption related content, and if you have any questions or want to chat or have any comments, then you can find me on Instagram at MollyMamaAdopt. I will link it below. I'll also link a few of my other videos below that may be relevant. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye!